Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's time to rumble. That's right, the road to WrestleMania begins this weekend at the Royal Rumble, and it just so happens, you may or may not know this, I'm the host of the In This Ring podcast for the last 8 years, my labor of love, because I love professional wrestling. I spent almost 20 years as a professional fight choreographer. I still work with a bunch of guys in the industry, and it is a passion of mine, pro wrestling and all different forms, the WWE, sometimes AEW, even though it makes me frustrated, and of course, New Japan, all the indies and TNA and everything in between. And it just so happens, I'm not alone here at Betting Pros. Terrell Furman Jr. and Sal Stefanile are an amazing team here at Betting Pros, our producers, our hosts. We also happen to be all really passionate about this. So instead of just doing shorts and articles, we decided to do an entire podcast dedicated to our picks for the Royal Rumble, and I am super excited. Now, Terrell and I message a lot about wrestling. Sal and I go back and forth before every single show talking about whatever we saw. Saturday night's main event is in the can. We know who's in. And gentlemen, I'm very excited. Last year's Royal Rumble, again, under Triple H, some people thought, well, you know, it was kind of cookie cutter. We knew it was going to come out of it. We got the CM Punk injury, which turned out to be one of the best things that could possibly happen. But Terrell Furman, anything can happen in the Rumble and anything can swerve around. What was so stunning to me as I was making my picks here, and I've got the men's and women's right here, my order. We're going to break down the booking that I have and see what the guys think. What was so stunning to me, especially in the men's Rumble, is how much high-end main event level talent we have and how we've intertwined them all in the last year and a half. It is kind of stunning. It's very 1992 Rumble-esque, except the championship is not on the line.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really good how they have decided to intertwine all of these stories into one. And the fact of we have a pool of about 7 to 10 main events that they could just throw out of there. And we could be like, oh, wow, that's a main event of WrestleMania. Oh, wow, that's a main event of WrestleMania. It's so many storylines that all kind of intertwine with each other on both brands that you're like, oh, wow, this can be good, because it's like, which way are you going to go with it? You're kind of looking like, oh, is it going to be Cody Roman, or is it, oh, Roman Punk is over there, and wait, Gunther's over there too. So it's so many options. I love it.
So many options, and they're all going to be tested. That's what you get in the Rumble too, is you have these test moments of booking, typically, Sal, where we're going to tease certain matches and say, well, what does this pairing look like together? How much heat is that going to get from the crowd? And maybe there's been some failures sometimes in the women's division under the Triple H regime. It looks like the rehabilitation is in full swing for the tag team division in 2025. That's starting to go in a much better direction. But you can't knock the main event stars that they have put together, because you're going through the list here, and when we get to the men's Rumble, it is either former champions or believable could be going after it, or people who already have belts right now. It's kind of stunning to think of what they've built up in terms of the very top of the line of this talent roster.
Yeah, I think it's pretty ridiculous just how much talent there actually is. But I do feel storyline wise, we're kind of lacking on the women's side ever since the Rhea and Liv storyline. I think that's kind of, if it's not done long term, it's on the shelf for now, especially if you've read the dirt sheets, how they're saying Liv and Raquel might be going for the tag titles at WrestleMania. So that kind of takes Liv out of the picture. But talent-wise, that's ridiculous. And that, Charlotte Flair has been gone for how long? So you bring her back. You got Bianca. Io, Becky might be coming back. I mean, they've talked about Alexa Bliss coming back. Jade Cargill's been off TV for a little while. She could be returning. We haven't even mentioned Jordan Grace, who recently actually signed full-time with WWE. Remember her Royal Rumble appearance last year? How that was to me, that was a shock. That was one of the best moments of the Rumble weekend. And I feel like she's in store for a really fantastic performance at this year's Rumble. So you could just keep going down the list, and especially with women who are returning. That's insane. Charlotte's been gone, Becky's been gone, Asuka's been gone. They could all potentially be returning this weekend. So the Royal Rumble, star power is insane.
Well, speaking of lists, in the words of Chris Jericho, I made a list right here. And we're going to get to the list right here. We're going to get to the booking, talk about that, give out the picks, I should say, as well. And before we do all that, quick reminder, you can help shape the Betting Pros podcast by taking a quick survey at bettingpros.com/survey and share your feedback to help us improve. And I hope that feedback is more wrestling shows, at least for the big four, from these three guys. That's what we want to hear on that survey. Give it to them straight. bettingpros.com/survey. More pro wrestling content here on the Betting Pros channel, because you can bet on this stuff, folks. And I have in the last couple of years, and guess what? We did pretty well with some of those picks. Last year, nailed all those, including the Mania picks as well. 2 years in a row with the Rumble. And on my podcast, I have gotten, this is true story, 9 of the last 10 between the men and the women right. That one I did not get was that one wacky Brock Lesnar year that nobody quite saw coming. That was, let's not talk about that. All right, let's get to the women's Rumble here. I always say, boys, you got to start with something. We're going to do these 10 at a time. You have to begin with somebody that's going to get the crowd ready to go, get them engaged right away, and you want some people who have some big entrances and some big feel. So I'm going to start with Chelsea Green. You want to also highlight the new belt too. She's United States Women's Champion. I think a lot of casual fans don't even know that there's secondary women's titles now. I want to start with her. I want to go Io Sky, who's going to be my workhorse coming in at 2. Really build up Io here as the marathon woman. Then we're going to go, we need some bodies to get rid of eventually here. We're going to bring in Isla Dawn, Zoe Stark, Natalia. You need a good hand like Natalia in here at 5. Zelina Vega, Piper Niven at 7, Naomi at 8, Sonya Deville at 9, and then Bayley at 10. Terrell, what do you think of the opening here with Chelsea Green and Io Sky?
I think it's pretty good. I'm curious if Io Sky is going to get the Iron Survivor push, and it could very well happen, and we could see her go back in a trajectory. And she's really been doing a lot of the grunt work over the course of the full year. So I kind of think of like those starters as the Iron Survivor push, those people that may get the most eliminations of, hey, we're starting to reward you of, hey, get ready for this next year because we're about to put you on your back. Bayley went and got the push, and she ended up winning the Rumble and ended up going on and winning the championship and had a good year leading through SummerSlam. So she really got a really big push. And the year before that, you had Rhea, who was the Iron Survivor, and she went bonkers in terms of superstardom. So I think that I could really see that for an Io, and I don't really know anybody else that I think really they want to give that responsibility to of this next year. You're really going to be like all hands on deck for us.
Sal, I have Io making it to my final 4. Do you have her in that same grouping?
No, I wouldn't argue against it though.
All right, not arguing against it. Why do you not have her in there? Just out of curiosity.
Just the other 4 I have. She didn't make the cut. I mean, that's a simple answer.
A little short there. All right, so after that, okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to quickly go back to your point about like the big entrances starting the show, and then Terrell about the Iron Survivor. There's a couple names you didn't mention in there who I think could potentially be either the first woman entrant or like in the top 3 is, again, Jordan Grace or Bianca Belair, especially when you say like the big grand entrances. Who has a better entrance these days than Bianca Belair? Like we've seen it in the past premium live events. Like that'd be a great way to get the crowd going. And it's a spoiler, but I'm kind of like all in on Jordan Grace for this Royal Rumble.
Oh, I am too. But I think we're going to make everybody wait. And I've got a plan here because the plan is the slow burn. This is the Triple H slow burn. And remember, we've got to fill the ring with some bodies if we're going to make somebody else look strong. If you don't have those bodies going in, if you have the Jordan Graces of the world come in too early, if you have her coming in the top, 5 people, to me, that kind of puts her in a bad spot because then she's got to battle through. She got to be in the corner, biding time with some bad kicks and punches until spots open up. You want her to come in when there's a full body of women to throw out of the ring and make them look strong. So at 11, another good hand, Candice LeRae, Alba Fire, 13, Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler at 14, Bianca Belair at 15. So halfway through, I give you Bianca because right now it feels a little lost in the booking. Terrell, do you agree? I feel like Bianca feels a little lost. I think I know where we're going with this storyline, but considering this is somebody who main evented Mania a couple years ago with Sasha Banks, it feels like it's good to have you go away a little bit so I miss you, but it almost feels like she's gone so far away that I can't see her in the main event scene right now.
And I think it feels like that too, and it's kind of disheartening as a huge Bianca Belair fan. But the thing that I think that she carries on is the fact that she is polarizing, and she is one of the biggest superstars, not women, superstars in the WWE.
Agreed.
Think about what Raw on Netflix and how big Raw on Netflix is, and where you saw Bianca's face on every single Raw on Netflix poster, and then we got to Raw on Netflix, and she's sitting in the crowd. But she's on every post. That's how big she is. So I think that it's okay if she doesn't get the full shine because they know, hey, we can pick this back up whenever. Let's keep building this storyline with her underlying. So I think you got her in a good spot, middle of the pack, and she can go in there, do some damage. I think she could have a lot of eliminations here along with Jordan Grace. and probably end up making the Final Four, but just not there yet.
All right, Sal, Bianca Belair, is she in your Final Four?
Yeah, she is. I mean, I know you mentioned she's kind of been like off to the side, even though she's a tag champion. But with WWE specifically, it doesn't take long for them to heat up a feud or heat up a rivalry. And with Rhea Ripley, the champion, I envision a narrative where Bianca could potentially win this and challenge Rhea. And we get that Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair match at WrestleMania. We've seen the history between them, especially in NXT. Those two can bring it. I think that'd be a pretty remarkable WrestleMania match if Bianca could pull off the victory. Whether she does or not, it's a different story, but I could envision it.
At 16, we're going to bring in the women's Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria, who's had a really good run here. I think so far, she was heated up first, got a little quiet, and then the tournament really punched her up a little bit. I think
were y'all shocked by that?
What's that?
Were y'all shocked by that?
By her winning?
No, not at all. Not
really?
At all. No.
I thought it was Dakota's time.
You know what? It would have been nice if it was Dakota's time. The problem is, once again, Dakota's on another injury now, right? And I think whenever you put belts on folks, you have to say, okay, what's the durability of this person? It's one of the things that I always worried about with Darby Allin. It's like, look, if you're going to put him at the very top of your board as your champion someday, what's the durability of that guy going to be to deliver those matches for 6 months at a time, every single night? That's hard. It's hard to be at the top, physically speaking. And Dakota, one of my favorites, Dakota suffers from Dolph Ziggler syndrome for me, which is she makes everybody else look so damn good that she forgets to get herself over. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think same. I think she's
she's not going to be in this Rumble either.
It seemed like they were getting ready for a really good push with her. And it felt like it was about to go somewhere. And I was like, oh, I guess this kind of leads into a mid-card title. But I'm not mad at the Lyra pick, but I was like, oh, I thought Dakota was finally going to get.
I'm not mad at either. I think we might be pushing for trying to elevate those secondary titles too. More on that to come here. Nikki Bella at 17. Now she is my only returning. She's been kicking around the last couple of weeks, Al, if you notice this. And it feels like whenever that happens, you kind of roll your eyes. You go, all right, I guess this is what we're going to get here. I don't have AJ Lee as much as I want her returning. It feels like Triple H isn't really big into the member berries with some of these Royal Rumble things as much as the Vince regime used to be. And I don't think, considering where CM Punk is currently right now in that spectrum, it feels like it might be his night. And if so, I just don't feel like, what we've seen now, the relationship of the two of them is that she's going to come in there and have anything to do with his night. What do you think?
She also doesn't really seem that interested in coming back to WWE. She's got so much stuff going on outside of wrestling that it's not like a lot of legends you see that kind of cling on to WWE because they need to come back. AJ Lee does not need wrestling whatsoever.
No, but I think she could use some closure on it. And I do see her eventually getting one run. I just don't think this is going to be where it is. I think this is going to be the road to WrestleMania for CM Punk, and we've been building it as such. So Nikki Bella at 17, Raquel Rodriguez at 18, Michin at 19, who's had also a pretty good finish to 2024. Just want to shout her out. She has been a workhorse for that company. Here we go. Now you're ready. So we got all these bodies in. We got to start throwing some bodies out. Let's start at number 20, Nia Jax. Here we go. So she's going to come in there. And right after Nia Jax, it's time to bring back Charlotte Flair at 21. Now there's some heat there. What a perfect moment. Let's embrace the heat. Sal, I feel like there's one thing Triple H loves. It's to embrace some of the real heat between some people because he knows it's good television. I want 20 and 21. I want Nia to come in, throw some people out, and I want Charlotte Flair to come in right after her and have that moment where Nia's looking down the ramp and she sees Charlotte Flair. What do you think, Sal?
I hadn't thought about those two coming back to back in the Rumble, but I can definitely see it now in my mind.
That's the question.
I'm in for it for sure.
All right. Again, we need some more bodies here. 22, Maxine Dupree. 23, Nikki Cross. Roxanne Perez at 24. She is the only NXT person I have. I know there's been a lot of rumblings, Terrell, about a lot of more NXT people maybe making some debuts here. I think it becomes less special when you have more than one. So I'm going to stick to one here in the men's and one in the women's. What do you think, Roxanne Perez? Is it finally time to move her up?
I think it is, but I disagree with the amount. I think that NXT talent division is too like they don't have enough time on NXT for all of them. They're having segments with like 4 or 5 girls in the segment trying to get some airtime for all of them because they're so good. I think you have to take the opportunity at the Rumble where you can throw in a couple of extra bodies there. Not saying it's going to be a lot. Not saying we're going to throw in the whole division is going to be like a 3-brand war in the Rumble. No. But I think we can get 1 or 2 maybe other people in there. So I think 3 is a very good number for NXT representation.
Question though, but when you start bringing in the NXT women guys and they like the Stephanie Vacours or the Julias, and they have these belts, does it do them a disservice though? Because you're just bringing them in there to get thrown over the top and eliminated.
But also gives them, like a platform to audiences that don't watch NXT. They can be like, "Hey, look at the amount of talent we have down NXT." They give them. Remember the Keith Lee moment, for example, a few years back.
Yeah, it feels like an eternity.
Who's this guy? I know, right?
Yeah, like who is this guy? This guy's
they've
amazing.
never seen him before, and that's a possibility. Where is Keith Lee with the NXT? I'm going to let you keep going with this, but I think there's one NXT woman who you might not mention. I think should be in the Rumble, and we can.
Well, you can tell me who I left out. You guys can tell me who I left out. All right, at 25, you waited long enough. Roxanne Perez, we've got our smaller talent. Now we're going to bring in the Jordynne Grace at 25. Now we start to build. So we bring the crowd up for Roxanne Perez. We bring them up some more with Jordynne Grace. Then we come down at 26 for Ivy Nile. Then we have a returning Alexa Bliss at 27. I don't buy any of the contract stuff. I think that's all a bunch of hoo-ha. I think the only reason they're doing it is to throw people off the scent because they've done that before in the last couple of years. Returning Asuka at 28. Returning Jade Cargill at 29. People are losing their minds going, look at all these people coming back. What's going to happen? And at 30, who's possibly left? Who could it be? It's Becky Lynch at 30 making her return. So I'm spiking from 25. Jordynne Grace, Ivy Nile. Again, got to bring them down a little bit. Bliss, Asuka, Cargill, Lynch. Terrell, have I sufficiently inflated the bubble here at the end of the Rumble?
Yeah, how many returns is that? Jesus,
You're
getting more returns than this is more.
4 in a row.
Sal, this is more returns than Monday after Black Friday, than the day after Christmas. This is more returns than the day
more
after
returns than Boxing Day. That's what this is right there. That's a good Canadian joke for Sal. So I like that one. So Sal, again,
how many returns is it? It's Charlotte,
4 in a row.
Alexa, Becky. You said who else? Who else is returning?
Jade. You said Jade.
Jade Cargill. So I had Alexa, Asuka, Jade, and Becky. But here's also part of the reason too. Alexa hasn't worked in forever. Asuka's coming off an injury. Becky hasn't, Becky's the big star or whatever. You get that big pop at 30. We could really embrace that last moment and she doesn't have to rush it. And same thing with Jade too. Again, you worry still about her work, but also, I think this protects all of these returning women between injury and some inexperience in some of them, and also looking at where they are right now in terms of getting back up to speed. By bringing them in late, you get the biggest pops, you get the biggest build, and then you get, oh my God, look who's in this ring now. So to me, that is the mindset. This is the slow burn women's Rumble that I put together. Sal, do you think that the slow burn is working for you?
So far, I'm into it.
All right, there you go. So final 4, Asuka, Io Sky, making it all the way from 2, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. That's my final 4. Sal, who's your final 4 for the women?
My final 4 got Charlotte, Jordynne Grace, Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. Terrell, your final 4 picks for the Women's Royal Rumble.
Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch.
All right, let's talk winner now. Terrell, give me your winner for the Women's Royal Rumble. Looking right now at the odds, you got Charlotte Flair at -200, Bianca at 175, Io Sky at +325, Becky Lynch at +500. To me, those are the only real answers here that are correct. I can't make a case. I can't make a case for Alexa. We're not going to go back to Liv Morgan. It's too soon for Jordynne Grace. She's going to compete for the secondary titles here. Asuka is probably not going to be thrown right back into that situation. The reason why I had Asuka and Charlotte in there too, once again, renewing some feuds there. You got the Asuka and Charlotte, you got the Becky and Charlotte stuff. You got a lot of history, and then you throw in, somebody that I know Triple H is very high on, which has been Io, and she was so good in NXT, and I don't think she's really gotten her proper run yet. So, your winner, Terrell, again for Women's Royal Rumble.
So, how I look at winner, I think it's what storyline makes the best sense for WrestleMania. what makes the best sense for the titles for WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either title is going to drop before Mania. So I think we're locked in. Rhea's going to have one match. Tiffany's going to have the other. The only match Tiffany can have is Nia Jax. That is the only match that I feel like makes sense for Mania is Nia Jax, because we've been building this storyline for almost a year now. Like it's about, what was that, summertime, Queen of the Ring, around that time. That's when they started to team up and they built that storyline, and it kept going. She won the title, all of that, I think. And they never got the one-on-one match. It was always the cash in. They never got the one-on-one. So I think that Nia is one match. And the other match with Rhea can go any way, but death, taxes, Charlotte Flair returning from injury and getting a title shot. Like that is why it's minus 200. That is minus 200 for a reason. Death, taxes, Charlotte Flair returning from injury and getting a title shot. It always happens. And Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley is a great storyline to pick back up on and have an awesome Mania match. I think that they are telling us exactly how it's going to go. I would love to be wrong and see anybody else, but I think it's Charlotte Flair, because I don't think Nia is going to win, even though Nia and Tiffany is the only option that Tiffany has for a match, in my opinion. I think it's Charlotte. I think it's going to be Charlotte, and they're just setting us up for what we know is going to be Charlotte versus Rhea again at Mania, and it's going to be a great match.
I think it's going to be Charlotte too. I think it's going to be Charlotte and Tiffy. I think they want to put a little fresh coat of paint on things a little bit there. And because they already know they've got Rhea and Charlotte in the bed, they've gotten that one, right? We still haven't gotten, Bianca and Rhea either on that main roster feud quite yet. You saw it in NXT a little bit. But to me, it's Charlotte and Tiffy, because the crowd wants to cheer Tiffy. And Charlotte is a heel. She just is. There's no way you can ever just cheer her. It's just not going to happen. It's not her in her DNA. So, Sal, give us your final four and your pick for winner here with the odds.
Nice. I'll say before that, I just want to mention, if Terrell does think that there's a chance Nia Jax could win at plus 5,000 odds, that's pretty decent.
That's why I was like, man,
pretty decent bet to lay down right now.
I think she'll be, and I do think she'll be in the final four, but it's just I can't see Nia winning it, even though I think that is her Mania. That's the way Nia has a Mania match, is with Tiffy, in my opinion.
I've been tracking the line movement for both Rumbles for roughly the past month, and Charlotte's been the favorite every single week, going from plus 225 to minus 200. And when I try to think of a narrative with Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, in my mind, there's really two concrete ones. It's Charlotte winning, because they said Charlotte wins everything. It's WrestleMania. Her versus Tiffy, I think it's like the past versus the present. I think Tiffany Stratton is the next Charlotte Flair, and stylistically, I feel like they kind of have similarities, and I think that'd be as the young kids say, a banger of a match.
It would be, and it gives her a little bit of the rub too, where he's like, okay, now you're in that part of your career where you start to put the young talent over a little bit, and I think that would be good for Charlotte Flair to do.
And then the other option, I think it could be either Bianca Belair or Jordynne Grace versus Rhea Ripley, mainly because I just want to see Jordynne Grace versus Rhea Ripley on WrestleMania. And also the plus 3,300 odds for Jordynne Grace. That's some nice value. I've been doing a lot of research for the Rumbles, and this is pretty easy to say, but since 2018, 5 out of the 7 winners were the odds-on favorite, like days before. So that automatically puts you at Charlotte Flair. The other 2 winners, whereas Becky in 2019, she was the second favorite, and Charlotte in 2020 was the third favorite. So everybody here is chalk for a reason. Like, the odds makers know what they're doing. So if you want to place a bet to win money, you got to go with the top 4.
Well, the minute Charlotte was in it and declared, I was going, I'm betting her at the plus 200 or whatever it was. Now it's minus 200. You missed the window, everybody. That's it, But in the words of Dave Bautista, give me what I want. That's what I want. I want Charlotte Flair. And
I would be so disappointed if Bianca won. And it's only because I think Bianca and Rhea, whenever it happens, needs to be a long thing.
Agreed.
That you build
I don't
up
think this
to.
is it.
Over a year of building up to that feud. You can't just give me that in a couple months and say I'm gonna be happy at Mania. So as much as I love Bianca, I would be disappointed if she won, because that means they're rushing that feud way too much.
100%. I don't know if it was you or Sal made the point before. It was like they're pretty good at heating up stuff fast, especially there's a lot of these feuds that you just add water to. That's one I don't want to heat up fast. I'm with you 1,000%. Slow burn that one. And Triple H hasn't planted any seeds for it yet. And the big ones always have seeds planted. Always, every single time. That's a one thing you've seen from this booking. Go ahead, Sal.
I was going to say, just a little bit of pushback. Like this has been a slow burn since NXT. It's been a very long-term storytelling. We haven't seen them lately. I'll give you guys that much.
Yeah,
which is fair. But again, there's also a lot of people that didn't watch NXT or don't watch NXT, so they don't know that backstory. So I'm with you with there.
I think it's more likely we're going to get her and Jade or some sort of, situation going on there. Who maybe it was Naomi who took out Jade Cargill. I guess we're going to find out on Friday or
I think we'll find out at Royal Rumble.
We're going to find out sooner or later. I think when Jade gets in the ring, we're going to find out who it was. And that's going to be a fun elimination. And that's part of why I wanted to come late, because I want it to be a big reveal. Again, there's always a method to the madness here. Like a little crazy.
Think of Jade looking in the ring, looking at Nia, looking at all the suspects, and then she
goes right for Naomi,
the person, whoever
and throws her right out of the ring.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, or great. Bianca, and that's your feud. See, that's easy. That the water it becomes an explosion there. It's like a science experiment if you do that. And that's why I want it late. But it can't be last, because you have to have something that's a little bigger than that. And what's bigger than that? Only one thing, and that's the man. Let's take a look at the...
No Rikishi then. He's
Rikishi.
He's out of the picture.
No Rikishi. I mean, there's always, you never know. No Rikishi.
Before we get to the men's, I do want to ask a question, because this was interesting to me, studying all the Alliance movement the past month. Today, a new name was added to the odds for the women's who wasn't there the previous 4 weeks. I've been tracking this. So I wanted to get your guys' opinions. If you think she'll actually make an appearance, not win it, but Ronda Rousey showed up in the odds today for the first time.
No
do you think she'll be in the Rumble? I don't think so.
Who requested
Zero.
Ronda Rousey?
Yeah.
Somebody requested a bet
Zero.
and said, "Can you please add her to the card?"
She hates the company. They got into a thing with the whole Drew Gulak thing with her and all the other stuff. There's no way. It's zero.
Like,
zero chance.
When I
There's a better chance you see Brock Lesnar than you see Ronda Rousey in this one. I'd say zero. But that's why they get you. They get you with the big name. So don't be a fool. That's why you're hanging out with us. So before we get to the men's rumble, and I'm going to walk you through all of that, don't forget, everybody, our Discord is a great way to stay on top of your sports betting with the best community on the planet for sports betting. BettingPros.com/chat. Not only can you connect with expert handicappers who provide picks for NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, player props, live betting, and more, but now you can also participate in our weekly community picks. Cast your vote and see how your picks stand up against the experts, and you can track your success. All right, here we go, boys. Same concept. Men's Rumble. I'm going to take you through the Joey P booking. Start at number 1 with a former winner of the Royal Rumble and somebody who's got a brand new character and a brand new entrance and a belt. Shinsuke Nakamura. A little slow play. It's a little open up here. Reintroduce Shinsuke and that whole thing here. And then, of course, you have to do the full Jey Uso entrance, right? So he's got to be number 2. You're going to get the whole crowd. You get the hype wagon going. We're ready to go. Number 3, Chad Gable. Number 4, Carmelo Hayes. Number 5, we've got LA Knight. Yeah. Number 6, Penta. I want him in early, and I want him in some spots, and I want to get him with Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, all in that same mix. At 7, Finn Balor. 8, Seth Rollins, a little early here. At 9, Andrade. And number 10, Dirty Dom Mysterio. So I want to see Penta with some of these guys here. I want to see him interact with Rollins and Carmelo Hayes and Chad Gable again. Are you with me here on that, Sal, where we want to get Penta moving and shaking with some of these bigger names?
Oh, yeah, we have to get him right there. As you mentioned, top 10. Some new possibilities nowadays in WWE. Penta, Jey Uso, that'd be kind of fun face-off. Penta, we've seen Chad Gable. Penta LA Knight would be kind of interesting to see them go back and forth a little bit.
Well,
I do want to say, like, Jey Uso is number 1. I feel like if they had odds for who do you think is going to be the first person in the Royal Rumble, Jey Uso would be the odds-on favorite, coming from the crowd all the way to the ring with the whole audience eating him up.
That's why I want him 2. Because I feel like it's too obvious to have him at 1. Let's set up somebody who can be a foil for him first. and then bring him in, have a little standoff. Terrell, what do you think about these first 10 names? Again, we're talking about Shinsuke, who's won the Rumble before. We're talking about Finn Balor, who has been champ, and NXT champ. Rollins, multiple-time champion. LA Knight, who just came off of a mid-card title run. Jey Uso, same thing. Again, it's a lot of big names here in these first 10.
Yeah, I took a completely different approach with it, and I'm looking at the first two. I think that's going to kick this thing off, and that's also going to kick off a Mania match, because we've seen the past 2 years, the first two starters have had a Mania match later on. You had the Usos last year, and then you had Gunther and Sheamus kick off 2 years before that, and then they ended up having the triple threat with Drew McIntyre at Mania. So it's a little bit of heat, a little bit of a feud there. And I couldn't directly place it, but the one person that I think is going to have a good match, the one person that I think is going to have the Iron Survivor, and that's Braun Breaker. I think this is Braun Breaker's Royal Rumble. Do you remember when Braun Breaker came out last year and had 4 eliminations in the Royal Rumble match? Do you remember how long he was in the match?
No, I don't.
Not 5 minutes.
Yeah, I remember it wasn't that long.
Sal,
I don't remember exactly how long he went.
5 minutes.
That's crazy.
He was
in impression that he left.
4 eliminations in 5 minutes, and then he was gone. I think they give him the Iron Survivor, so I think he has to be one of the top 2. And if I had to sit there and say, if they're going to start him off with a feud for what's going to be Mania, the other person I think would be good and can last long too is Ludwig Kaiser. I think
Ludwig Kaiser I do have in here. I don't know if you're gonna like where I've got him though, but I do love me some.
But I think it's Braun Breaker at 1, and I think that kicks off the Rumble, and him having a big eliminations, long time in the match, shows off how good he is and durable he is. That gets him to the end, and then that kind of opens things up for the rest of the 10.
Boos rain down on number 10, Dom Mysterio, but cheers for Sami Zayn at 11. You got to throw The Miz in there at 12 because I'm sure it's in his contract. He gets to be in every Rumble. At 13, CM Punk, the opposite of the 31 tattooed. See, I know I'm digging deep here. I'm looking for meanings and Easter eggs every single time. Give me CM Punk at 13 because he wants to be in there long enough to make his presence felt and feel like it's a warrior. But look, you got to protect CM Punk. He's 40-something years old. You got to be careful with him. Next up here, Jimmy Uso, and then Braun Breaker at 15. So there you go. And there's some bodies there for Braun Breaker to throw out, including Dom Mysterio in there. Maybe a Carmelo Hayes elimination too. Next up, Damian Priest at 16. And then because they love him, Karrion Kross at 17. There we get to 18. We start getting some big boys. Drew McIntyre makes the cut. At 19, you say his name and he appears. He's Joe Hendry. And 20, Rey Mysterio. So I got Joe Hendry at 19. You think that's too late or too early, Sal, for Joe Hendry?
Sounds about right to me. Build up the anticipation. Because I think at this point, we all expect him to be there.
He's 100%.
Yeah.
Like, if there was ever a guarantee of somebody that's not on the main roster to be there, it's Joe Hendry.
So it gives it that opportunity for like every entrance, every like countdown. Like, is that Joe Hendry? Is that Joe Hendry? And you just keep building until they finally say his name and he appears.
Does he last very long, Sal? Like, or do
you think, I don't think so.
I mean, because I have McIntyre coming in, and I'm thinking the perfect guy to eliminate Joe Hendry is another United Kingdom fellow, and I think Drew McIntyre is that guy.
Yeah, no, I think he's basically here for the theme song to sing with the audience a little bit, get in there, smug for the camera.
Well, you don't want to bury him too much because he is the TNA champion. You just made to deal with him. Like, you got to let him get in there and mix it up a little bit. But.
Like, just that the fact that a TNA champion is in the Royal Rumble itself is a victory.
Yeah. Imagine Drew McIntyre and Joe Hendry. But I know that, like, I get it. That is very good. But imagine Joe Hendry and The Miz standing across each other. Oh, and throw LA Knight in there, too. Just imagine all those just little personalities staring and looking at each other like, who's going to do something? Because those are some very, very big names in terms of charisma and how they play their characters. And yeah, clear cut Joe Hendry very much going to be in the Rumble, but I maybe 30 seconds.
See, I want to give him a minute and a half. I don't want to burn him too quick because then again, that embarrasses.
And they already got him the first time.
Yeah,
with the Battle Royal.
That's true. Let's go to 21, Sheamus, who had a nice showing there with Braun Breaker last weekend. 22, Trick Williams. This is my one NXT. I don't want to put Obafemi in there because it makes him look weak to get him thrown out, and that guy's just too strong looking. I don't want Obafemi anywhere near this. I love Obafemi. And I was thinking, do I want to put Ethan Page in here? But I think it's time for Trick Williams. Let's get him up here instead. I think from audience perspective and involvement, Terrell, I think the Trick Williams entrance is a little bit more Royal Rumble friendly than Ethan Page. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did you hear that SmackDown? The one SmackDown that Trick Williams came out and he saved Carmelo Hayes, and the whole place erupted. I mean, the music had already stopped, and the whoop that Trick trance kept
that
going,
trick, baby.
kept going. So yeah, you got to hear his entrance music in the Rumble.
All right, at 23. Here we go. John Cena at 23. Because if you're paying to see John Cena, you got to get him in there. But I'm not getting him in there before the 20s. It's too early. I don't want Cena interacting with everybody. He's a star. So you got to get rid of some of those people in that first, 15, 20. And then you have a little bit of an open space here for John Cena to come in. Ludwig Kaiser at 24. Now here's where things get interesting. So I marinated on this, boys. After Saturday night's main event, I'm like, nobody loves Jacob Fatu more than me. I am loving how they're making him a star. He is got the promo. He has got the athleticism. He's got the presence. He's got everything. He is it. He is believable. So why are we making him such an animal right now? Well, because I think we're going to have him and Roman Reigns be the match. If we can't do The Rock, Roman's really got nothing else going on right now. Roman, Jacob Fatu, take my money. I want to see it. And it's something that I think is a big enough match where it still feels important, but we're going to take a break after a decade of Roman being in the main event. And I think that's probably healthy for the company to do. I have him at 25, and here's the booking. Let's see if you can stay with me. Jacob Fatu at 25, Randy Orton returning at 26, Logan Paul at 27. Again, you don't want him in there too long. AJ Styles returning at 28, Solo Sikoa at 29, Roman Reigns at 30. And I think what you're going to have here is a final four of Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, Fatu eliminating Roman Reigns, spurning that feud. My final four, Cena, Punk, Fatu, and Reigns. I'm trying to create something here with Fatu and Reigns in this Rumble because right now Roman has no direction. And to just now throw him back, you're not going to throw him back at Cody again. To throw him at Gunter feels a little forced. Fatu, Roman Reigns. Terrell, what do you think?
I don't know why you don't throw him back at Cody again. I think of the Royal Rumble match and I think, okay, what's the biggest WrestleMania we can have? What's the best WrestleMania we can have? You take your two top stars and you give them the third match that you teased all this year, literally throughout the entire year, SummerSlam, multiple times. We talked about this match being the match, and ultimately, how does Roman Reigns get to that match? So if I'm sold that it's going to be Roman Cody 3, there's no way. And I promise you, there's no way Roman Reigns is wrestling in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. That is not happening. So he has to win the Rumble. He has to win
I don't
the
have it
Rumble.
happen. I just have. I agree with you. I don't think he's in Elimination Chamber. I think it's Jacob Fatu. I think that's the feud.
So if that's how
everybody
you put
a
it,
star.
that's a good way to book it and it builds something with Roman, because as of right now, if you don't think it's Roman and Cody, there's no way Roman is in a title match because he's not in an Elimination Chamber match, and you have to have him win the Rumble if it's not going to be that. So,
and it immediately makes Jacob Fatu elevated to a whole other stratosphere, which it feels like that's the rocket ship sound that this company wants to put on it.
All gas, no brakes, as he says, right? I laughed earlier because you and I have the exact same Final Four.
No.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll share my Google sheet with the notes so people don't think I'm blind, but those are the four. I thought maybe Seth could sneak in there over Jacob, but if you go with the Bloodline Royal Rumble storyline and you break off the Roman Reigns and the Jacob Fatu match for WrestleMania, that leaves CM Punk and John Cena. Which way you go between those two is a different story. I thought I might have been a little bit crazy having Jacob Fatu in the top four. I also think he's a dark horse candidate to be the guy that has the most eliminations in this Rumble, because I think as soon as he gets in there, it's just going to be like a tornado where he just like eliminates everybody left and right like an animal, and we get to that final four eventually.
And you have to have him come in late to do that. And that's I think you have to have that presence where he comes in and he's throwing out, the Rey Mysterios, he's throwing out the Karrion Crosses. I think he's throwing out, you want to give him the Trick Williams, right? Like that's believable, right? You're like, hey kid, not yet. You ain't quite ready for this. That's how you start to build this star, and it feels like that's what they're doing with this guy, and it ain't wrong. It ain't wrong. So let's talk about your final four and your pick to win, Terrell, and then we'll get everybody's final pick here just to set the stage too. for the men's Royal Rumble. The odds as of recording right now, John Cena plus 100, Seth Rollins plus 125, CM Punk plus 150. The Rock still hanging out there. I guess he's waiting for number 31.
I don't know why his number.
Did you hear the theory, Terrell, about somebody saying that he gave Cody the ping pong ball from the Royal Rumble? Remember the old school, they do the tumbler and the number was 31. I love that one. He was coming in
that
at the
they
end.
said that he gave him a piece of the Ulafala. Like, oh my god,
that's a bad one. That's
so many ones.
All right, so give me your final four then, based on some of these odds. Again, long shot. Roman Reigns plus 1,200 is a big long shot here, actually, which is ironic.
I just don't get it. And maybe it's because I'm kind of sold on this is going to be Roman and Cody 3. But it's like, why tease it now? And we're going to get this because you're not going to just throw this at it. This is only a Mania match. The third one is only going to be a Mania match. I can't
counterpoint
that on.
Here's the counterpoint to Roman, and let's see what you think of Roman Cody 3. Fatigue, right? You don't want to keep doing the same thing 3 years in a row. Sometimes the audience goes, oh, it's great, but we've seen it twice in a row. Maybe you let it breathe one more year, and maybe you have it twist where you finally let Cody go full Homelander, and maybe it's a different vibe by the time we get to that third one, so you can put Roman over again. And maybe it's also a matter of it's been 10 years in a row for Roman in the main events. You got to at some point start to build some new main event possibilities out there. I think that's the counter argument.
And I think, hey, when you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And as of right now, they're the two biggest draws. And it's kind of tough. Your two biggest draws, and that's the match that a lot of people want to see. As much as people are so much fatigue, there's also a lot of people that's all they're thinking about. And so I think it's two sides of the coin. So I don't know. I have two winners. I literally am 50-50 on it. So my final four: Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and John Cena, much to the degree of you three. However, I did not have Jacob Fatu in there. I did have Seth Rollins in there as the last spot. And I booked it as that whole Rumble is going to be all of the ways that in some different way or shape or form, because I think Drew McIntyre is out number 5, that Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk all screwed themselves out of a chance to main event WrestleMania. And I think that's where this whole next 2 months is about to go, is somehow, some way, whether it's through the Rumble, whether it's through Elimination Chamber, it's going to be the rivalry between Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. Screw them all out the main event. They have a triple threat match and put on the greatest match of WrestleMania in Vegas. I think that's how it's going to go. And so with that, I think Roman and John Cena just kind of find their ways in the championship matches because that storyline is so big and you got to finally give it that conclusion. It's got to be over, and it's only over with a triple threat. So I think it's Roman, but I also have Punk up there as well, because if anybody's going to get it, it's going to be Punk. He's literally come back for this. This is the thing that his career is sitting on.
All right. I've got my reasons for my winner, and they're very clear. I want to save them. I want to hear Sal, since we have the same final four. Who is your winner of the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble?
Right. So again, we look at the odds since 2013. 9 out of the 12 winners have been the odds-on favorite the day before. The other 3, again, in the top 4. So if you look at the odds, the top 4 as of right now: John Cena plus 100, Seth Rollins plus 125, CM Punk plus 150. The Rock, I don't know why he's still up here, plus 800. If we remove him, Roman Reigns is next.
He's the Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns at 12. I found it kind of interesting that Roman Reigns went from plus 700 to plus 1200. I thought it would have been the opposite
way. Yeah.
The more we got into the Rumble, there's this podcast I listened to from The Ringer, the Mash Man show with David Shoemaker and Kazim. Kaz used to be a writer for WWE, and he always says during his podcast, WWE will tell you what they're going to do if you pay attention. And I think at the end of the Go Home episode of Raw, that promo between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, I think they were setting the stage for CM Punk and Cody Rhodes WrestleMania main event. Every day up until the recording of this podcast, I had flipped of who I thought was going to win. I was John Cena all the way. The nostalgia scene is coming back. He was the odds-on favorite. And all of a sudden, Seth Rollins went from like plus 2,500 to the odds-on favorite.
Yeah,
just a couple days ago. That
imagine having a 25-1 ticket on Seth Rollins right now. I was
so happy. And then that went to minus 150. Like, he was the odds-on favorite. Now he's the second at 1 plus 25. I've kind of cooled off on his potentially winning. If we go with the Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, that eliminates Roman. So it leaves us with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. CM Punk, he's 46. He's closer to 50 than he is 40. He's never won the Rumble. We know one of his biggest life goals is to main event WrestleMania. I don't know what you guys think. I currently think he's like maybe outside of Cody, the hottest superstar in the WWE universe.
Sales,
in the universe right now.
100%.
He's been the second or third odds-on favorite every week, and he's currently at plus 150. So like the numbers and the data and the trends back him up. And storyline-wise, I think they're setting it up for us. And I think it might be flip-flop where by the time we get to WrestleMania, we might not get full Cody Homelander, but I think we're going to get Cody on the heel side and Punk as the true baby face. So who does
Gunther get?
I think Gunther eventually he gets Seth Rollins. That's going to be like the B match. I know.
That is not a night one WrestleMania main event. I'm sorry. Like it ain't. I don't think Seth is on
match quality wise.
What?
Storyline?
Wait.
I think Seth Rollins right now.
You don't think Seth Rollins and Gunther is a main event match?
Not a main event WrestleMania match. Not a night one. Not where Seth Rollins is currently booked. There's nothing.
They would put on the best match of the night.
It doesn't matter. It's just WWE. You need more than that, unfortunately. This is not AEW Tony Khan fantasy booking where we just make good matches and then nobody cares the next day. This is different. This is about us getting to a point where we're engaged with Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins just lost to CM Punk. Seth Rollins feels like he's floating around in the character that's more of an entrance than a character anybody really cares about. I'm sorry. Like he is kind of mid-tier right now. Well, and I like Seth Rollins. I just feel like that's where he is. So would I want to see that match? Sure. Do I want to see it at WrestleMania? It ain't there. And I don't think you can get it there in 4 months.
I think it's still a WrestleMania. Maybe not this Mania, but I think it's still a WrestleMania.
Oh, down the line, yes. It's just not right now. Seth Rollins' character right now is just not there. Here is the final four again. Reigns, Fatu, Cena, Punk. Now, I'm going with CM Punk, and here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, the minute John Cena came back, all he keeps talking about is the same thing. Have you ever heard him do a promo since he's come back and not say the words Elimination Chamber? I think there's a reason for that. It's an international show. John Cena in Toronto is going to have one last run in Canada and tip his cap to everybody. And this is the farewell tour, folks. So you're going to get Cena everywhere so they can cash in on every single thing of merch. You see the Indianapolis merch for Cena? Guess what? We're going to have a bunch of Canadian flag merch for Cena when he goes up to Toronto. It's going to be the same thing all the way through. This is what we're going to do. And considering what happened to Punk last year and considering with AEW, Punk too, he's a little fragile. You want to have him win the Rumble and then put him in bubble wrap until WrestleMania. You do not want CM Punk at Elimination Chamber doing stupid things. I'm telling you right now, it's bad for business. You have him win this time around. You protect him till you get to April, till WrestleMania, and that's it. And you have him go over here. Now, if you don't want to do Cena and Cody, which is something a lot of people want, I think Cena and Cody needs the belt personally, because you have to have that draw of, Cena one more time. Can he win one more championship? Face versus face, passing the torch to Cody. It's that ultimate kind of good guy moment. It's very Hogan Warrior-esque kind of feel there, only two much, much, much better human beings. Can I emphasize the much there? And then what you have going on is you have the opportunity to do that match. You have a very clear night one of CM Punk versus Gunther. Gunther he carried Jey Uso to the best singles match he's ever had. Jey Uso is not a great singles wrestler. He was a good match. Gunther can carry anybody, even a 46-year-old CM Punk. It's going to be fine. And the crowd will be very clear that night who they want to win. And I think that's something WWE wants. They want the clarity of, we want CM Punk to be I think if it's CM Punk and Cody, that crowd's going to be very split, Sal. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. But I think by the time we get there, promo-wise, CM Punk will win over the crowd.
I don't disagree. But at the same time, if you look at the crowds, you got a lot of kids, a lot of younger people, and Mania is one of those big events too, where you're going to get a lot of, the people engaged in families and stuff like that. Terrell, they've made a lot of money off Cody Rhodes and those kids this is not like you buy a pair of jorts and a hat and you dress up like John Cena. These kids are getting coats made to look like Cody Rhodes. It's a very different thing. I don't think you want to stick the pin in that quite yet. What do you think, Terrell?
I hear everything you're saying, but I still think the Seth Rollins piece is left out. and he has now created himself. I know you may not like the character, but a lot of people like the character. And I think that he
they like
has
the
something to
entrance.
do. He has something to do with all of this. You said what?
I think they like the entrance. I don't think the character has been defined for some time. And I think what you do is you have Punk. I think you're doing 2 nights of SummerSlam now. That's where you have Punk and Seth Rollins, and you can fire it up again if you want. I don't think it's gonna be a long run for Punk at the top, to be honest, physically. I don't know if he can handle it, but it's gonna be interesting to see. Who are your picks for the Royal Rumble? Drop them in the comments here on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this, go talk about it on the survey. Say more wrestling content from these 3 yahoos. Go to bettingpros.com/survey so we can do a WrestleMania show. I can't even say survey. Survey, not survey, unless you're, I don't know, Sean Connery or something like that. So again, bettingpros.com/ it's the slash, Sal. That's what's screwing me up. It's /survey is a hard thing to say. /survey. See, I got it the last time. And make your voice heard. Those are our picks for the Rumble. I think we all agree Cody Rhodes is going to win. We all nod yes.
Can I throw out one theory at you guys before we leave?
Let's do one conspiracy Mark theory before we get out of here.
Because you don't think Seth Rollins and Gunther is a big enough WrestleMania match. So what if John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber and he challenges Gunther? So you got Cena and Gunther. And if we look at the odds, if you don't think you want to bet on CM Punk because he's plus 150, Roman Reigns at plus 1200, we still have that CM Punk favor. So what if Roman wins, Punk cashes it in, and they make it a triple threat? Cody, Punk, Reigns.
Wow.
I was thinking of that. Once again, you and I are in the same booking mind, Sal, which is why I love you. I was thinking that same thing is, when do we get the favor? And do we get it because do they pull
He's not in the main event.
Well, you know what Triple H pulled? The same thing, and then we'll get out of here. You know, I'm going to make you want it more thing. You know, I'm going to have Cody lose that first time. Do we have Punk lose the Rumble, lose the Elimination Chamber, and then have to call in the favor to backdoor his way into WrestleMania?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the very short, abridged version, the 4-month version, as opposed to the year version of waiting for Cody Rhodes. But I did think about that this morning. Here's my only thing. Physically, I'm just worried about him getting there. Like, I love where your head's at. I just worry about it. But who knows? What's the Paul Heyman favor? Drop that in the comments, too. All the speculation. Terrell, Sal, this was super fun.
One fun fact before we leave. You had CM Punk coming in.
I love it. He's like Columbo. He's always got one more thing. One more thing. Before
you had CM Punk at 13th in your list of order. Only one wrestler has won Royal Rumble from the number 13th spot. Who do you guys think it was?
From 13? I'm going to go with the Stone Cold Steve Austin because he won a couple times. That gives me some outs.
Yeah, I was gonna say Shawn Michaels because he won a couple times. I know he did it one time. Hopefully the other one was.
He did it one. I knew that for sure.
The first Rumble ever, 1988.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Wow. Also, a historian is CM Punk as well. And who was at Raw recently? By the way,
no, he was at Saturday Night Main Event.
Saturday Main Event. That's what it was. Yeah. Saturday Main Event. Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Easter egg.
There you go. Easter eggs. Let's go, baby. Let's go. It's Rumble season. The road to WrestleMania is just beginning. Subscribe to Betting Pros. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Sal and Terrell, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.